which were awesome and I grew up in. There was a lot of cool stuff going on. And this guy right here was leading the charge for me. Now, we've gotten one of these systems and we've had a bunch of great games for it, Zelda, Metroid, etc. Super Mario Brothers. So as a young kid, I was like, wow, every one of these games is great. It's going to be awesome. Nothing can go wrong. And when I saw a cover that looked like this, I was excited. It's got a guy flying. There's bombs and treasure chests and pyramids and all kinds of crazy stuff. A Demon King. This is going to be awesome. This is going to be awesome. This is young me, okay? Look how happy I was back then. Now, as an older, more mature gamer, we can go back to this earlier screen, and I can notice the problems. There's no music on this screen. There's no animations on this screen. No matter how long you sit here, it never goes to demo mode or shows you a plot scroll or anything. It just sits there, silent, forever. That's a bad sign. But we're going to dig right in. So there we go on our amazingly graphically intense-looking game there. And immediately I need to know what's up. What can I do? Well, I can jump really, really high. And then slowly waft down to the bottom and back again. So you're going to spend a lot of your time in this game floating along. Alright, can I jump on enemies to kill them? Because, Super Mario Bros., right? No. No, you can't jump on enemies. And you don't have a one-hit kill. So alright, got that part. Well, let's use those bombs. This is Mighty Bomb Jack. This is what this is all about. It's a collection of bombs, and immediately get myself into a situation where I really very badly need some bombs. And, alright, we're gonna try everything. Because I'm not sure which one it is. Up, no, down, no. Okay, select no, start, no, oh no! I can't use bombs. There's no button to use bombs in this game. So that part of the title is a big friggin' lie. Maybe, if I go farther in this game, things are gonna change. That's what I'm hoping for here. So we're just gonna continue moving our way through and see what happens. Well, it's green. Okay, and palm trees eventually inside your pyramid? I have no idea. Every level of this game looks exactly the same. No matter how far you advance, it's never interesting. Now, my young self at this point was having a bit of a conundrum. Alright, I know this game is supposed to be fun. All NES games are fun, right? I just have to figure out what the fun is. Well, maybe the manual can help me. Wait a minute. Okay. So, as a young kid, this made no sense. Even today, this makes almost no sense. So, the manual's not helpful. Well, maybe there's some collectible items I can get that are going to help me out. Well, we can get bombs, and those increase my score. I know those don't do anything. Bags with numbers on them. Increase score. Okay, not helpful. Coins. They increase your score. Not helpful. An M drink? Is M for mighty? Oh, I turned blue and the music changed. I'm getting excited. This is going to be it. No. That lobster thing just ran me right over like a freight train. So, being blue and having the music get all exciting doesn't help. Alright, how about some statue things? Those don't do anything at all. What is these other statues that open a door? Well, maybe this ain't cool, the door. It's just a room full of boxes, all of which have useless things in them. Okay. Monster coins! Alright, well the other button, my non-jumping button, actually does something now. I can use monster coins. That's good, right? The first coin I use, I turn blue again. Well, I'm pretty sure that doesn't help. Well, let's keep going. If I hit another one, I turn orange. Is this better? Can I kill things now? No. That didn't work. Alright. Well, if you are orange and hit it again, you turn green. And enemies turn into coins for 3 seconds. I mean, now you've got to be some kind of superpower, right? So when they finally turn back into enemies, can you kill them? No. Okay, this isn't going very well. What does it even mean anyway? My younger self, barely holding it together at this point. Not having a good day. It's got to be in there, right? Well, maybe the music is good. Actually, I just realized they don't have any music yet. Why is that? Dang. Well, this part of the panel isn't going to go very well. Let me tell you that the music in this game is really bad, and I can't prove it to you for some reason because the sound of the place isn't working. Alright. I can try clicking on it, but I don't think it's going to do anything. There's my little thing here. Yeah, okay. I guess I could do that. Wait, was this that number? What do you got? He's going to see what you can do. Yeah, really. In the meantime, I think I'm going to, what do we got here? We can play out the speakers here. See what happens. This guy. Nothing. Alright. Take it from me, it's bad. We'll move on. Assuming it'll never stop crashing long enough to keep going. I love Windows.
The game is that bad.
Oh, yeah. The game is that bad. Right. No, I think this is definitely Windows' problem. Everything's kind of going south in a hurry here. It was very bad. Huh. All right, we're going to wait for this thing to stop crashing, I think. Do we have a backup laptop? Is that ready? No. Sure. All right. You're going to bear with us here, folks. I'm sorry. Now we're looking good.
The worst game ever. Whoa. You sing, folks.
I was just trying to play a song. Hitting enter. Yeah, you've got to start.
No, it's too young. I just played it until it's gone. So I had to bring it back.
All right, I think we're mostly back up and running here. All right, so we're going to pretty much skip over the music slides so they don't have to have this happen again. And we're going to go from here. Right, computer? Oh my goodness, the music's back and everything. All right, so finally, after going through the music stuff, we got into a new type of room. So now I'm pretty excited. Maybe there'll be something cool in here, right? So, well, there's some lit fuses going on in the bombs. They don't ever explode, they just sit there forever, unless you pick them up, in which case a different bomb hits a lit fuse. So, but wait a minute, a B appears. Is B for bomb? Is it time for Mighty Bomb to do some bombing? Oh, I collected it, and the number at the top of the screen I went up by one. This is it. This is going to be it. And nothing. Nothing. There's not even a bomb counter. It's like apparently there was a part of the game that got coded in and it didn't do anything. They forgot about it. But all right. We're going to keep playing. Just got to keep playing. It's got to be in here somewhere. Fun. Get some stuff. And wait, what? What? Are you kidding me? So those monster coins, if you collect more than 9, you are sent to the torture room for being greedy. What's the torture room like? It's a small locked room with a counter in it. And nothing else. Well, the counter, you might think it's counting down, by seconds. It isn't. It's number of jumps. You have to jump 49 times before you are allowed to leave the torture room with enemies continuously spawning. Of course, you can't fight the enemies. They took away all your monster coins. So, with the long, wafting, slow jump you've got going on, it's pretty much a guarantee you will die in the torture room. Now, I just want to ask, what other game ever punishes collecting the cool items? Nobody. Nobody ever does this. And my younger self finally lost it. I mean, what are you kidding? Are you greedy? Like, why is this whole game so hard? I hate it! I hate everything about this game! Like, in closing for this thing, every part of this game is a waste of your time. Just reskins all over the place, no effort put in. If it weren't so pointlessly difficult, it would be utterly forgettable. So what I'm warning you right now, don't end up like me. Avoid Mighty Bomb Jack as much as you can. And with that, I'm going to take us right into the next one, since I'm sure we're running low on time now. Neo Contra. This is a PS2 version of Contra that came in, and of course my first reaction was, oh man, another Contra game. The original was so good, this is going to be awesome. Well, right from the get-go we got some problems. They want these characters to be manly and awesome, but I mean, they're Japanese. They don't really understand the American concept of macho, so they try absolutely as hard as they can. And the result is pretty laughable. Now, if you're like me, you might say to yourself, but over-the-top machismo is awesome, right? Well, let's have a look. We got videos in this one, so I hope they don't crash. Oh, no, go back. It was working before. We will simply... Oh, where did you go? Alright, we're going to try this again. From this slide without making it big screen, because apparently it's just going to blow up. So, we've got a giant space station shaped like a gun. Good first sign, okay? Now, let me get some... How are they going to drop our heroes to Earth? We're going to go save this city, alright? Oh yeah, flipping action. So already you've got the sense that like they're not really sure what they're doing with this thing here. But, you know, I'm sure it's going to be awful. Now, who's in this game? We've got a guy with a gun, which makes a lot of sense because this is a Contra game, and some kind of space samurai with a bare midriff, a thong, and the name Jaguar. I'm not really sure they thought this all the way through. Let's get a close-up on him. Like, what is going on with that guy? What were they thinking? I have no idea. Now, the first thing, they go so far as to say this ridiculous jerk is the same as the guy in the original Contra game. Like, why would you even bother? The original game had no plot, he was just a big dude. But no, they're going to try really hard. So you know what, if they want to compare these two games, I say we compare these two games too. Let's draw some comparisons. Now, Contra 1, right? It's a very simple game. You've got running, and you've got gunning. And that's it. That's all you do in the game. But that doesn't mean it's simple. It does mean that you can, like, jump around on these bridges, there's various routes you can take through the thing. The game is always interesting. Compare that with Neo Contra. You can go any direction you want instead of just to the right, but every direction is wrong except up. So any time you spend backtracking is just wasted time. A fork in the road. Maybe this will mean there's one thing or the other. No, if you want to do well in this game, you have to go all the way one way, come all the way back, and then go the other way. You can't ever, like, avoid anything. And that's because of this thing. This thing right here. So now, what does a Contra game need but a way to tell you that you did terribly at the end of every level by missing enemies that you're supposed to be shooting or dying? Which enemies do you kill? I'm not really sure. Like, I know I'm supposed to kill those ones at the top only by playing, and the ones at the bottom there, you're not supposed to kill. They don't increase the hit rate percentage. So who knows what they were thinking? The game's unbelievably convoluted controls do not make this any easier. There's a button for friggin' everything, and then they don't even bother using circle. So these controls, I mean, they're awful. Like, here's me trying to shotgun this guy. Every bullet missed. I picked the spread shot, of course, since it's the best one, but no, I still miss. Miss again. Every one of the spread shot bullets actually went around that guy. Like, it's abysmal. And this made only worse by this new thing they have, this ridiculous anti-air walk-on weapon. So they've got some air targets. Rather than just shooting at them normally, you hold down triangle, paint them with your thing, and then release to shoot at stuff. It's really hard to do, it's hard to aim, and if you miss the enemies which appear for a split second, you don't get shooting down, you lose your hit rate, and then you don't do very well. So, great. But anyway, they finally let us go through this stupid, ridiculous tank creature. And this thing where you're falling down a giant hole while fighting this guy while flipping the whole time, and whatever the heck that is. Before they finally let us meet the boss of the level.
This is all the first level.
This is all the first level. This game is awesome voice acting, by the way.
So, the scum finally arrived. You must be the commander. One of the Neo-Contra elite. Right the first time. Gorilla
Look at
Contra.
this fight just hanging there.
As your reward for getting this far, I'll grant you
I'm not really sure what he's supposed to be, honestly. And then he just stands there, and our guys don't shoot it. But whatever. So then we finally go into our tank battle. But before we get there, I want to compare some levels. You probably were noticing something as I played through Contra levels. Just look at the colors, all right? Gray, sort of dull red. Let's compare. Level 1 of Contra versus level 1 of Contra. The other, we've got bright water, all kinds of cool stuff, trees, we get gray. Level 2, we're inside this base area. We got greens, reds, blues. Level 2 over there, gray. Level 3, a waterfall level. All kinds of cool stuff going on. Level 3 over there, a gray corridor of metal. I mean, they couldn't get any more boring. So anyway, back to that tank fight. What do we get? This ridiculous guy in a stupid tank that can jump around. And you gotta use the anti-air lock-on weapon, my most favorite weapon, to shoot the tank, which is nearly impossible. And I even figured out for 2 minutes why none of my bullets were doing damage to his legs. Because apparently those are vulnerable. After I beat him, though, what we treated to? Plot? Are you kidding me? A Contra game? What are we even trying to do here? You can't even see this guy because they barely show you anything about him. But finally, we're out of there, and I start this failure train off right with a C ranking. We're kind of tracking what I do here. Let's move into some more awesome, because you know what? Riding on cyber dinosaurs is awesome. Right? So in this level, you're riding along constantly, and the controls are even worse. I was trying to hit that guy on the left, and all the bullets went the wrong way. And they throw these ridiculous, like, stupid 3D challenges at you, like this thing on the side there, where you have the, it's firing at you, and you get the little, like, zones of fire you're supposed to dodge, and of course, you gotta use your lock-on anti-air weapon to shoot at it. And then, you can't even see what you're shooting at most of the time. Like, there's a little mouse here. There's a little guy, like, right there you're supposed to be shooting. I can't even tell he's there. Like, what am I shooting at? But after all of that, and you get to this thing, which, like, you're climbing upwards while this thing, tries to catch you. I can't even find where I am on the screen, because your guy is tiny. And that thing's gonna crush you at any moment. Ridiculous. These guys pop out of holes to drop bombs on your face. Like, it just gets more and more ridiculous. But finally, we jump out of that, and it's time for a real boss fight with probably the worst voice-acted thing in this entire game.
Well, I never. What? You think you can equal the great Plant Contra? Just who do you think you are? Hardly. A pansy like you isn't even a decent warlock.
battle with this guy, who is nearly impossible to see and jumps around the screen so fast you can't even tell where he is. But he's got, of course, instant death, like touching powers. And it's ridiculous. Like, what am I even supposed to be shooting at in this picture here? He's over there somewhere, like, using his flamethrowers. I can't even be on the same screen as him. It's a round, circular arena. You think you could pull the camera out a little bit so I can see the whole thing? No, of course not. Or this scene here later on. What am I even shooting at? Am I shooting at the thing in the middle, those guys on the right, and that thing at the top? No, none of that. It is, of course, the anti-air lock-on gun again. Because every boss battle seems to require you to use it. Now, let me tell you, what makes a good boss battle? Obvious things to shoot at. They let you know when you shoot them. You can see the whole boss. And it's easy to take multiple routes. Like, you can blow up all those other guys before hitting the glowing thing at the bottom, or you can just dodge all of that and blow it up first. It's a fun boss battle, whereas what we were doing there was awful. Then, as you may have noticed, there's the dialogue. Now, right here is all of the spoken or written dialogue of the entire original Contra game. All of it. And I think it's beautiful that way, because it's a shooting game. Meanwhile, let's get cut back to our dialogue in Neo Contra.
Even so, will he be able to face him?
That doesn't make any sense. Come on.
How could I have been so careless?
Still twitching. I'm tired of dealing with this weed. Riser, go ahead, uproot it. Hey, wait a minute.
Here we go.
Ignore me! How dare you! Listen to me! I know who you are, and I don't care! You really make me
It makes no sense. Now, this is a run and done game. Explosions are all you need to know that you're winning. You don't need any of this dialogue stuff, but if you absolutely have to have dialogue, make sure it advances the plot, develops your characters, or it gives you some information you wouldn't otherwise have. So there finally being this boss, we're treated to some wonderful dialogue. Keep these three things in mind as we watch.
Incredible. I can't believe he was a plant. Right now, I'm more interested in that mystery G. What's his angle?
Now, what was the point of that? We knew that guy was a plant scientist. We don't know any more about Mystery G, and I hated typing that part. The voice actors are, of course, wooden and terrible. Anyway, on to the next manly, awesome level. And of course, we need a manly, awesome intro for our manly, awesome level. Let's have a look. After an intense loading screen. Everything takes forever in this game. Okay. Oh yeah. Cigar is still smoking. I gotta ask, what did that have to do with anything? Why are they in a volcano? How did they get into a volcano? Why did they survive all this? Because it's awesome, right? That's why. That's the only reason. Now in this level, they have a lot of stuff. They try to do an homage to the original Contra, which sometimes change things up into this mode where you're looking forward and shooting at stuff rather than running to the side. You had to shoot all these little turrets, and you couldn't be shot while you were ducking, and they threw like rolling bombs and grenades at you. It was an interesting way of like changing up the gameplay. So Contra, Neo Contra, tries to do the same thing with an homage to the same level, but it looks like this. So you've got the rolling bombs, you've got that thing at the front of the level, and you've got these stupid turrets like before. But now you can't see them because they float off the side of the camera, which you can't move. And you got to use your anti-air gun, my favorite weapon, to shoot at them, of course. There's also no such thing as ducking or being in a safe spot. And let's look over here. So how to blow up that thing at the end of the room? Well, I'd love to blow it up, but it has this armor shielding around it. And the controls are so bad, I end up firing my shotgun into a wall instead for minutes. Like that. This is the worst homage ever to something so classic. Like, look at the difference between those shots. But anyway, after we get through that, and whatever the heck this was, it's finally time for some boss battle action and some kind of ridiculous mecha thing. And then we're introduced to our next Neo Contra elite. Oh yes, boobs. They're going to spend a lot of time on those. Don't worry, she knows how to voice act too. After posing. How would you forget a face like that?
Lucia, what? Lloyd, you fought alongside her? What do you think you're doing, Lucia? Why are you siding with them?
Poor Billy. There are some things you're better off not knowing. But don't fear. I'll kill you now, so you never have to deal with them.
Great. So you probably asking yourself, why is she called Pheromone Contra? There's a boss fight that happens right there. All right. She uses pheromones to attack, obviously. No, you're wrong. Right. Well, some kind of gas attack, right? No. Well, it has something to do with that ridiculous gas mask, right? No, you are wrong. The real answer is, she's a girl. That's it. Pheromones, girls, clever. Now, her boss fight is utterly ridiculous, but I want to compare with, of course, the classic boss fights. All the good way of multiple routes to victory, an interesting way of changing things up, and of course, no dialogue, which was everything you'd want in a boss fight. Now finally, when you do defeat Lucia, we are treated to the game's Oscar moment. Prepare yourself.
It wasn't supposed to be.
Answer me!
Now I want to notice that she's holding her side here, right? In a minute, we'll get to see that there's absolutely no wound there.
Listen to me.
What?
Resist.
There it is.
You want. But
Nothing.
can't hurt your friend. Not against him.
Line.
What are you trying to tell me?
Here it comes, folks, the Oscar moment.
Lucia.
I mean, that was pretty good. I'd give him 7 out of 10. Yeah, 7 out of 10, alright. So, we're sort of doing good at this game. Like, taking video and screen caps while playing it makes me pretty bad. But we're ready for the next level. Now, I'm going to warn you ahead of time. This is so awesome, it's going to blow your mind. Like, everything before was just a warm-up for this. And a long loading screen. So here we are fighting these dumb cyborg bees and this horrible bomb-laying thing that you can only fight with your anti-air weapon. Of course, while you're running your helicopter. But as dumb as this scene here looks as I fight their giant helicarrier thing, it is not anywhere half as dumb as this, as missiles continue to slam into the top of my helicopter trying to hit me without damaging it. Absolutely no idea. But then, finally, this game's greatest moment. In case any of you blinked or missed how incredibly awesome that was, I'm going to show it again because it's my favorite part, okay? Let's watch it back. This bears repeating. Look at that perfect landing. It's like they weren't even moving. So, alright, we find ourselves on top of the helicarrier in an area that looks incredibly familiar. Like, practically identical to level 1, in fact. Just awful game design. But anyway, here's a scene where I really wish I had a grenade gun. There's this like gun over there on top of that platform, and I can't shoot it with my normal gun, and my lock-on gun doesn't work. But, you know, power-ups, right? No, too bad! There is no such thing as power-ups in Neo Contra. You pick one weapon set at the beginning of the game, and you use the same one for the entire game. Now, anyone who's played a Contra game, or really most of these kind of running gun games, realizes power-ups are where it's at. Like, you can change up what you're doing. If you die, you have to get a new one. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can do with power-ups. But instead of Neo Contra, there's nothing to look forward to. There's no drops of any kind. You just keep grinding through. And so, we grind through the aircraft carrier until we reach the 4th boss. Look, his little sword. We need a trap. You're on his aircraft carrier. No idea. Just standing back for 20 feet from you. Alright, so this guy's getting off this floating helicarrier. How will we chase him? Where did the water come from? Like, are you kidding me? Look at this stupid fight. Like, where did all of this come from? There is so much junk on the screen in here. I have no idea what is even going on. I can't even find myself. I don't even need that. Like, utterly ridiculous. Again, what does a real boss fight look like? First of all, it's sort of scary instead of a talking dog with a Kaiser helmet. Second of all, it's really obvious what to shoot. You shoot the hands and the face, because they have glowing bits on them. That other thing, you can shoot like only parts of their damageable. You have no idea which. But anyway, wrapping down here, there's a lot of other stuff I've seen that bugs me. Like when I lose in a boss fight, you give the option, do you want to retry for the boss fight, or go all the way back to the beginning of the stage for no reason? Like, why would you even offer me that? Or these ridiculous Cossack dancing, boulder riding enemies. Like, are those supposed to be scary? Or these things, here's a rocket truck. So you're gonna fire rockets? No, it uses the rockets to just jump at you. I have no idea what these enemy designers were thinking. But anyway, we grind all the way through, and it's time to move on to the next stage. And wait a minute, try normal mode? What happened to all of these losers? What happened to the plot? And of course, Mystery G, the best character. Well, do you remember these screens right here? There's a ranking on every level, and if you do poorly enough, you cannot advance in the game as a whole. It's like, that, not good enough. Try again, all 4 levels. And how do you get, a poor ranking? Well, besides not killing everything with a hit rate, you can also die. And dying in this game is stupidly, pointlessly easy to do. Like this giant tank thing that pops up underneath you, just kills you if you're on the wrong side of the screen with no warning. Or this tank, which can jump on you, even though it's enormous. Or this thing, or this part where I couldn't find myself. Guy's gonna drop a bomb right in my face. Yep, bombs, being crushed by this guy, flamethrower ballet. Like, there's so many ways to die in this game. A sandworm that explodes into bullets. A laser which is tracking back and forth along the screen in a sort of 3D mode, and you can't really tell if it's clipping your hair or killing you when you dodge under it. So really, if you were as confused as I am, and this guy is, without me and Contra, just stay away from this game. It is not good. Thank you.
I know exactly how Scott feels because I actually played through that game with him and I understood just as much as he did. Now, on my end, yeah, some of you know where this is going. Long ago in a distant land, specifically last year at this very convention, I reviewed a JRPG named Tonelico Melody of Metafalica, or actually Melody of Alemia in the case of number 1. Long story short, it was bad. It had a bad story, forgettable gameplay, and a lot of really stupid game mechanics. More on this later. But somehow, through dark magic humanity was never meant to know, this game got a sequel. Yes, while gems like Psychonauts and Beyond Good and Evil wallow in the bleak underworld of discontinued games, something like this managed to get a second chance to shine. With a whole new cast of females to ogle and objectify, and even a poorly dressed supporting cast in case you just aren't content to lust after her main characters. Now, let me introduce you to my friend Matt here. My friend Matt, after hearing the story of Tonelico 1 last year, he promised that if we could find him a cheap copy of that game, he would play it himself, let me screen cap it, and I would write the review at the end. What a champ. Well, sucked to be him because we had a free copy lying around and he had to eat those words. Let's dive right in. The intro is some standard JRPG fare, the land is cursed or whatever. We live in some floating sky islands because of an ancient disaster, nothing we haven't seen before. There's some girls we're supposed to care about, a ridiculously effeminate main character. Seriously, I thought the cast was 3 girls at the very beginning. Some heavily implied lesbianism. And this shot, which looks for all the world like it belongs in a creepy love triangle-themed porn game. And this managed a teen rating, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to bear that in mind as we go on. By this point, Matt's already a little bit incredulous. He is not a fan of JRPGs as a rule, and this is easily the J-est of the JRPGs. But we soldier on. What do we do when gameplay picks up? We shoot a young girl in the face and imprison her because she has some kind of dangerous disease. Thus, we are introduced to our protagonist, Croy Bartel, and later his younger, adopted sister, Coconut. He's the one on this side, in case you couldn't tell. Croy occasionally makes me think that he knows knows just how dumb the world around him is, but most of the time, he's either extremely predictable or just exceedingly dull. The man has the depth and personality of dishwater, is what I'm trying to say. Whatever. So, with the plot picking up, Croy and his adopted sister get sent on a mission to save the maiden who acts as the figurehead for their government. We've got to fight recolored sprites of our own troops who represent the Divine Army, guys who are trying to overthrow that government. And we have to save this maiden from the attempted coup. Now, the Holy Maiden, Lady Cloche here, is kind of a jerk. She yells a lot, she gets insulted by everything you do, and basically demeans your actions at every turn. So, of course, she's got to be a love interest. And Croy, like the doormat that he is, takes it. This sets a pattern. This sets a pattern that continues through the rest of the game. Cloche explains that we're supposed to fight this way, attacking to satisfy our random whims, protecting her from damage. Most of the characters in this game are nothing more than glorified damage sponges. But it allows you to use one of the game's more unique features, song magic. You defend this girl for a while she charges up a spell, and eventually she gets to cast really powerful magic. It's kind of interesting at first blush, but unlike Tonelico 1, they jazzed it up a bit. Instead of just, blocking in the random occasion where someone decides to attack your Revatail, you've got to parry enemy attacks all the time. It's cool in theory, but not so much in practice. For one thing, the game loves to shake the screen really hard for powerful attacks, making it extremely difficult to see when you're supposed to hit it. And if you're fighting without a Revatail and one falls in battle, you can't block at all, and you must absorb the enemy strikes with your face. Anyway, after having that explained to us, we escape from the Divine Army. Cloche continues to whine and moan. And it's not long before we're introduced to another dumb system, the conversation array. By talking to Cloche and your other Revatail allies, you're supposed to get closer to them so that you can use yet another system I will discuss later to give them new powers. In reality, it's just another form of grinding. It forces you to hunt for conversation starters. Each of those things need to be filled. All of those gray ones, if you don't fill them, you're not going to be able to finish the game as you wish. It has nothing of depth or background, it's just grinding. So, we soon meet another Revatail, an immediate rival for Croy's heart. Her name is Luca. She's the childhood friend character and the kind ditzy girl. Of course, Cloche continues to complain about this and life in general, and demands that you dive into her. That is a euphemism for sex, folks. Get used to it. There's a lot of it kicking around here. Diving involves climbing into these machines, which are copy and pasted from Tonelico 1 to save time and money. So you dive into this girl's mind and wander around a landscape called the Cosmosphere, where you find out all their terrible inner secrets and help them overcome problems to craft new song magic, making them more powerful in combat. But like most things in the game, it's not all that interactive. You're given choices on how to proceed, but they're not real choices. One is always right, the other is always wrong, and you will get kicked out if you pick the wrong one and have to start over. You can't actually fail because the game forces you to finally make the right choice eventually. It's worse than having no choice at all. And in the long run, you're accomplishing nothing of emotional and little of practical value. Cloche continues to be a Tsundere-esque jerk throughout the entire process, as you might imagine. So how's Matt doing at this point? He was good enough to volunteer to play. How is it holding up? I should mention that this picture isn't from the end of the game or anything. This is from our third play session. He has already lost the will to live. But anyway, with two Revatails, battle should be more challenging and interesting, right? Not so much, because immediately after seeing the girl with the midriff, she decides to up and leave the group, cutting her team's power in half. You think this is an isolated incident? It's not. It happens over and over and over again. And since improving your Revatails requires them to be with you, cutting them out makes the process more convoluted and even longer. Anyway, Luca, midriff here, is pulled into a temple by a totally not working for the enemy type character. So we meet this guy, Chester, who shows up and sounds kind of evil. Those glasses open and close. Chester tells us that the Grand Bell government we work for is kind of evil because, no government in any JRPG has ever not been evil. Still, the Divine Army he works for are also pretty colossal jerks, so we seem lost for options. But before we can even contemplate the implications of working with the bad guys, the game throws in a whole new system. Bathing. Really. last third of the game. This means that she's going to kill everyone and can't use song magic or be useful in any way. On discovering this, Croy immediately turns on everyone and everything he's ever been loyal to, and 5 minutes later, after she's been in prison, is ready to be a lapdog of the establishment once again. Following his rapid-fire treason and rehiring, we're finally introduced to something we're supposed to care about. Apparently, the Grand Bell wants to use the Holy Maiden to make more land, and the goddess or whatever won't let them. So, Chester arrives claiming that Luca here is the actual Holy Maiden, and that the rebellion against the goddess and the idea to make more land is a pretty bad move. After fighting with Cloche some more, Luca decides she's had enough and joins Chester in the Divine Army of her own free will. And somewhere along the line, we rescued the jailbait character because we literally happened to be running through the same room she was in. No rescue operation, no attempted extradition, just, hey, here you are, okay, come with us. And with Midriff gone, it's time to make a difficult choice. Do you stick it out with Lady Cloche and rebel against the goddess? Or why not, try and bring down the current order by siding with the Divine Army? We decided that Luca was really annoying, had a goody-goody attitude, and for all of her faults, Cloche was starting to grow on us a little bit. So we decided to go with her. What is our reward for our loyalty? The Chancellor of the government pulls a gun on us. Is the captain there going to jump in and save him? Is Croy going to suddenly grow a pair and become a badass? No. It turns out that lead up. It turns out the Chancellor's gun is a kind of lollipop dispenser, and you're good to go. That was Matt's reaction. And after all that, the bodily harm, the threats, everything that he's done for her, the hours of inane babble, how does Overboob make... I can't go on. How does she respond? She calls him a dog and treats him as such. And Croy keeps taking it. Now, with the war on the goddess in full swing, it boils down to finding the magical MacGuffin to power the superweb that we need to shoot that goddess right in her stupid face. So we beat up this blue dog shark thing and grab the crystal, returning for the ceremony. But not before we have to go on a secret date with Lady Cloche, because nothing can ever happen from point A to point B. There's got to be C, D, E, etc. between them. On this date, she unknowingly feeds you penguin food in an attempt to emulate normal couples. I'm really glad we decided to stick it out with this lady. Aren't you guys? Well, we're also introduced to a whole new system. A whole new set of systems, really. You know those IPD rabbit tails, the infected girls that you've been fighting at the beginning? Well, it turns out that you can cure them of their ailment, and if you do so, they will boost the power of your rabbit tails. You cure them by choosing topics of conversation and trying to get their mental state to match that pink highlighted area up there at the top. So if you do it right, you can cure the rabbit tail. Fantastic. But when you think about it, you're essentially brainwashing them. You're correcting their thought processes. These magical girls have been re-educated. They no longer harbor feelings of rebellion against the government. Once their thinking will be part into line with the party ideals. Even if you can ignore the brainwashing, it's not always easy to tell what the heck you're supposed to say. Which of these options is the right one? And they're really unsettling topics, like this little girl who wants to nibble on your tender bits. All of the mental reprogramming isn't bad enough, though, because you can also use the cured rabbit tails to boost the stats of your Vanguard characters. That is right, women can become literal accessories you use through the equipment menu. So after much faffing about, Midriff comes back demanding that we stop our war on the goddess. Sorry, too late, we already used the super weapon, which is quickly blocked by some kind of robot girl who descends from heaven to battle us. And we counter her using an entirely new system to fill the screen with tons of extra crap. The game does this kind of thing constantly, as if it's ashamed of its own graphics and wants to hide behind even more stuff. But every JRPG must include at least one unwinnable boss fight, so we get trounced. Only to be saved by a robot with what appears to have a tuba coming out of its back. We get to that island finally, and we are joined by Jacques, a powerful ravitail and someone whose costume makes me exceedingly uncomfortable. She looks like she's 13, and she is drawing attention to every single spot on a 13-year-old that you should not be staring at. So we learned that in order to get to this close character, we need to use another dumb dive-related system, the Infelsphere, which is supposed to allow Cloche and Luca to stop being such monumental pricks to one another for a few minutes, so we dive into that. But things aren't all that peachy. Cloche seems to be taking this new authoritarian bent in her new spiritual form, valuing law and order. Especially her new order, where everyone is given an ID and monitored, where crimes and dissent will be crushed, where 600,000 police agents will keep the population under control. The right will last for 1,000 years. I knew you were messed up, but a Nazi I never would have thought. Fortunately, we learned that in order to fix this whole mess and return her from Naziville, all we need to do is keep running back and forth between the Infelsphere and that floating island in order to get these things, sphere keys. Unfortunately, you have to do this over and over, 9 times. And did I mention that in order to do this, you also have to endure stupid mini-games like sorting candy and pineapples? Or running around a field of desserts, trying to avoid penguins who sprint out like parka-wielding ninjas from locations off screen. And this goes on for a long, long time. And you're not just wasting time there, you're wasting it in the Infelsphere as well, listening to Cloche be really creepy. But we are introduced briefly to my favorite character in the game, Icefall Dragon. Yeah, he might look like a Pokemon, but he tells this midriff girl that she had no chance with Croy to begin with. Way to go, Icefall Dragon, you hurt that stupid girl's feelings. Finally, we dig our way out of the Infelsphere, and after defeating a representation of Lady Cloche's antisocial behavior, Jacques steals the heart we've been searching for and just flies off. We catch up with her and the Chancellor, who also runs the government, and he's running off to leave the world to its fate. We fight him and his coat full of guns. And jailbait Jacques eventually decides to just give us the heart and resurrect Cloche, because I guess she wasn't really evil or something. Emphasis on the or something. She becomes a new permanent party member. But we're not trying to talk to her very much because she spends most of the time layering on sexual innuendo as if she were paving a road with it. That's in context. After much other mucking about, we're suddenly shown that the goddess we've been fighting has actually been in our world this whole time, sleeping. So the war's over, right? We just ask her to make the new land, right? It'll be fine. No, the new government that took over in our absence now wants to turn everyone into spiritual beings and cram them into that Death Star-looking thing that we used to shoot the goddess. What? Is that the way you make everyone happy in this world? To stop this, how do we do it? We need to dive into the mind of Croy's sister. Do you think that they'll handle this tastefully since she's a 12-year-old girl? No, they won't. Let that speak for itself. Fortunately, we're only treated to a pile of flashbacks. Even going so far as to flashback to events that happened 3 minutes ago. This is not the first nor last time this will do this. But after a pile of technobabble and a few pointless fights, okay, a lot of pointless fights, we beat the people trying to reenact End of Ava, and now Cloche and Luca rule the world. Game, set, match, let's go home and get drunk. But wait, there's more. So much more. The world's starting to collapse, and only Luca and Cloche can sing the song that will make more land, for reals this time, and save everyone. But first, we need to go back into the Infelsphere to get them to talk for days about how much they hate each other. And it gets a bit disturbing. Yeah, that happens. And it all culminates in an epic catfight in which we learn that Cloche is really Luca's long-lost adopted sister. Because sure, why not? Having one of them hogging all the tragic backstory, and the end feels like it's just around the corner. But things aren't all hunky-dory because something's wrong with the goddess, and it's accelerating the world's collapse. Oh, great. We need to fight our way up that tower we just created to get her back to where she belongs, and she can fix everything from there. It'll be peachy, right? The game now takes its time to pad this ending out for hours. It locks doors, forces us to wander around, looking for switches up and down the tower, while fighting insanely fast enemies who can't be blocked, and sometimes even lock up the game. And then, the game stops and says, you're close to the end. Would you like to waste another 5 or so hours playing around in this little girl/goddess's mind? What? You know what? Would we? Sure, let's get this over with. We are introduced to a story inside the goddess's mind called Wacky Habara Panic, Fall in Love with the Betrayer. This is a for real scream. This actually happens. It's some kind of Japanese detective drama. Again, all in this woman's head. There's more fake choices. It is less of a make-your-own adventure story as a there will be one exactly one way to continue. Not that it stops you from wasting your time on the false choices as always, but you can just play through it again to make it right. Because no matter what you do to screw it up, Fraley is a harsh dungeon mistress and she will not tolerate any of your BS. So it's a drama where you play as a guy who quit a crime syndicate to save the girl he loves. You ally with a bunch of other jokers who fight against the syndicate. Meanwhile, things like this happen. Yeah. Also this. How oddly specific. And this. What? We finally find out that the main character, when he was working for the syndicate, was actually a rather terrible person. Like, killing people and using them for human experiments. Like, that kind of evil. But even so, he's off to fight against a slew of characters from the first game some of you might recognize. In increasingly stupid scenarios. With increasingly stupid magic. And even a cliche escape from an exploding super fortress. Yes, I know, that's a field. I didn't design it. Don't ask me how it's a building. And despite having killed enough people to qualify as a major war criminal, they get the girl. Aw, fabulous. There's even a credit sequence. Now credits to us are a promise. And Matt, when I told him that this didn't mean we were through, he took it rather poorly. I'm so glad you like seeing me get hit in the face. So why did we go through all of that? What was there to gain? Honestly, a bit of final song magic that I never ended up using anyway, because by that point, from all the grinding, the physical character is so overpowered that the song magic almost never got to go off in the first place. Thanks a million. All of this is going well. We finally get to the final boss, and she's trying to pull the exact same plot as the earlier villains. This isn't original, this is just rehashing. So the villains we've got up to now, they try to explain their motivations. Despite the game's best efforts, it's kind of pointless to characterize them in the last 10 minutes of the game, isn't it? But no JRPG is complete without 20 solid minutes of righteous bullhonkery right before a boss fight. And flashbacks. All the flashbacks. Or stupid world-shifting stuff that is never shown or explained. How? You're already a 2D game. And a final climactic battle begins. Like all good bosses, we have to beat its 3 forms, like number 1, number 2, and number 3, 2 little girls. It's one of the most forgettable boss fights I've ever experienced. We're so overpowered it was laughable, whether the enemy is throwing swords at us, or blasting us, or screaming rainbow lasers. And at last, we beat them and a new age dawns. The somber farewell. We begin the ritual. Symbolism happens. And great, we've made Metafalica. Just great. Are we done yet? Can we rest? No, now wait a minute, dude. You might be thinking, what about that whole relationship with Close you guys chose? There's this whole dive thing from the first game. You skipped right over that, didn't you? Well, let me explain something, friends. Unlike Tonelico 1, Tonelico 2 conversations. At certain points, you are forced to go down one path, and no matter what you try, you can't get that last one you need. We're stuck at level 3, or level 4, don't ask, long story involving mind explosions, with no way to continue. But what about her? Couldn't we go with her? Nope. We made a choice to go with Cloche, and we are blocked forever from going past level 5, which is depressingly farther than we got with the girl we actually chose. But they gave us plenty of conversations with Jailbait Shockley. We've been avoiding them with her because all of them turned out really sketchy. How do you think Matt took it when we had only one recourse? Not well, but one attempted murder trial and months of counseling later, we dove right into our last possible option. Shockley's Cosmosphere is set up like a Japanese visual novel, with her telling us the story and characters taking on roles that she assigns. It looks like it's going to be some kind of high school drama, but wait a minute, isn't that the same background for Tonelico 1 again? Yes, it is. Laziness. The story opens up with our heroes, played by Luca, Cloche, and Croy, being attacked by some sort of monster. Croy's character nobly throws himself in harm's way, hugging both of the girls and making them feel really funny. Not funny so much as Japanese subway ride funny. It's magic, of course. The two of them immediately transform into magical girls to defeat the monster. Might be funny if it weren't so monumentally stupid. We find out that the monster was sent by the main villain, Miros, here played by Shockley. Take careful note, she's totally naked right there. And she's 15. If this were live action, we'd all be registered sex offenders right now. Anyway, Miros bears a surprising resemblance to this girl, Miwa, who also goes to her school. She seems to know about Croy's power, and the game decides to remind us of this not 3 minutes later. Told you it wasn't the last time. And we complete the first level and get a new costume for Shockley, because that's really what we're in this for, isn't it? This is the first and last time her costume is even close to modest. We're treated to a montage of school classes, none of which make a lick of sense. And after school gets out, we're off to a creepy doll shop, which is run by Miwa, who seems to feel the need to dress like a maid this time around. Croy feels inexplicably attracted to her because the only way this game could make me feel worse about myself. How do we get her to like us? Figuring out her personality and making tough choices? No, by having enough dive points, which we use by grinding in normal battle. So no choices, no character development, just a railroad plot and an economic model based on psychological prostitution. We don't get anywhere with Miwa, so we have to fight another stupid enemy, which means, yep, another creepy transformation. And this time you actually have to fight the enemy with just your Raventails. No blocking, no attacking, just select a spell and let it charge until you run out of MP and cast the spell anyway. We actually stepped away, made ourselves lunch, and came back before this fight was over. Not a joke, just honest truth. After the fight, Croy confronts Miros about obviously being evil, but she gets away. We beat the level, so here's Jailbait in a maid costume with guns, if you're into that. Croy tries to puzzle out what the heck is going on, but the story keeps us locked into stupid classroom stuff, like we can't concentrate. Where one teacher tells us that the way to win a man's heart is to show him you're good at cleaning by opening your eyes wide and cleaning the windows like you're kind of annoyed with a sulky attitude. That's empowerment, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, we see Miwa doing it later that day. Well, Croy at least takes the opportunity to take the hint and ask her out on a date, which, despite being enemies, Luca and Cloche seem rather okay with, and the date doesn't really go over well. And there's another creepy monster fight. Croy slowly gets it into his head that yes, Miwa is Miros. We established this. And the school gym uniform is our reward. Croy keeps trying to get closer to the enemy, and decides that he basically has to force her to do normal things like date and whatnot to make her not be evil. Foolproof plan, right? Apparently so, because she shows up to their beach date wearing 3 eye patches and swim goggles. They think it's a little weird. We get that new costume. Miwa takes this whole relationship versus ending the world thing a little hard, but she's still ready to jump our hero at the drop of a hat. Even when she says creepy stuff about killing him with her bare hands. And Croy seems to think that'd just be fine and dandy. So we confront Miros in her evil doomed fortress. They transform again. We get new magic. Yeah, that's a girl on a band-aid. Band-aid, having an eye patch. whether to be nice to humans or wipe them all out. And you're forced to make a real choice. Help the evil side and try to save her, or fight against her and risk losing everything. Tough call, right? Well, with the choice to help the evil side made, we finish the level. We find out that Jacqueline bears a bunch of repressed hatred towards humans because, being experimented on, which she lets you feel, is kind of bad. It's kind of well-founded that she hates people. But a new spell arrives to help save you and convince Jacqueline not to be evil. She stabs you with some kind of love potion, allowing you to reach Jacqueline's heart and convince you that you love her. Ending the level and our run in the Cosmosphere. Sure, we would have liked to have continued going, but the game kept us from any more conversations, and we were sapped to the will to carry on. What's the end result? We ended with Jailbait Shockley at the very end. Our innocence and sanity, the last casualties of this awful game. So the game draws to a close with a wonderful moral. And we find that we've been playing for 60 hours? 60 hours? I cannot remember the last game I liked that I ran through for 60 and a half hours on one playthrough. Tonelico? Okay, alright. Some of you might be thinking, lights please? Some of you might be thinking, but Dan, there's a whole new Tonelico game out there. You don't have to play it now. Well, guess what, suckers? I don't own a PlayStation 3. This was the end of it.